got the horse right here, the name is Paul Revere, and here's the guy that says if the weather's clear, can do. This guy says the horse can do.
Welcome back to my channel on Vegas Stories. All right, these stories that I put together cover my 45 years here in the city of Las Vegas, primarily in the horse race business. I was part of two licensed Nevada disseminators, Sports Forum / Winco and Las Vegas Dissemination Company. These two disseminators provide information to Nevada race books. They're licensed independently by the Nevada Gaming Control Board and the Commission, and they act as independent and totally not affiliated with anything. So the thing is I was part of those two companies, and that's kind of where the bulk of my stories come from. Okay, so before I get started on this particular thing, okay, I wanted to give you my beer of the day. If you've been following my videos, everybody knows I'm looking for the higher alcohol content beers. I'm trying to get the buzz without the bloat. That's my purpose. So it's really hard to do that with a lot of American beers because they have low alcohol content, 2, 3, 4%, sometimes 5%. But, it's not a lot. It's in that range somewhere. Whereas these other international beers, they're higher alcohol content. Now, some of them are really high, 10% higher, which I refer to as King Daddies because those are the best that I'm looking for, trying to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish, which is the buzz without the bloat. So, needless to say, let's look at one right now. This is an old one. This goes back a long way, but it's a good one. Okay, now this is from the country of Ireland. This is an Irish beer. Everybody knows this that's been around in this business for a while. It's a Guinness Stout. Okay, now this particular one is a foreign extra stout, 7.5% alcohol level. Okay, as I said, not a King Daddy, not 10% and higher. Okay, but it'll still do the trick. If you drink these things, don't guzzle them down, otherwise you're going to pay a big price. Sip it, enjoy it. Make sure you have a lot of time on your hand with this beer. Just constantly enjoy the process of drinking a nice high alcohol content beer. Now, if you want a little kick, you want to do a little shot of Jameson's Irish whiskey, do a shot. But I'm going to tell you something. You start doing shots and beers. I mean, you know where that's going, okay? So go easy. Go easy. I'm just trying to tell you, if you want to pick up the little tempo on this thing, you want to shoot the whiskey, you can do that. But go easy on this stuff. It's a great beer. Push it aside. Let's get to my story of the day. Okay, this happened in the late 80s. It was in between my jobs between the Sports Forum / Winco and the Las Vegas Dissemination Company. Okay, I got together with a couple of the local guys here, and we formed a little company, and our basic job was going to provide sports books on cruise ships. That's what we're looking to do. So we were lucky enough in the late 80s, we ended up securing a contract with the Norwegian cruise line that left out of the city of Miami. And the ship we were looking at the time was the SS Norway. So we had a nice little contract potential here. I had to go down, take a cruise for a whole week out of the city of Miami, visit all the, the cities they go to, all the countries they go to. And I had to select. My job on this particular ship was to select where on the ship I was going to put the sports book. That's what they wanted me to do on this one particular cruise. All expenses paid, unlimited alcohol. That was something they didn't put a lot of thought to because I was coming down. I'm like 25, 30 years old at the time. Unlimited alcohol bill. Wow, they're going to pay for that thing. So in the meantime, I get down to Miami. Next thing you know, I gotta go visit the cruise ship and try to figure out, what we're going to do with this thing. So I show up, go down to the, to the dock, and I meet the people that I'm supposed to meet. We're talking, the casino manager and the slot manager that I hook up with. And it was really a nice experience that I had with these guys because, they introduced themselves. And, and the one guy who's the casino manager, he said, let me give you a tour of the ship before we take off. And this way you'll get everything you'll know exactly what's going on. So he took me on this big tour. He took me on this huge tour of the ship, the SS Norway. And when we got finished with it, we came down. He goes, what do you think? I said, wow. I said, I'm impressed. I said, it's a big fucking boat. He said, what? I said, big fucking boat. He said, let me tell you something. This is the SS Norway. formerly the SS France. Okay, it's bigger than the Empire State Building. It's made 600, trips in its career, whatever it has, type of thing. And I've never heard anybody refer to this particular cruise line as a big fucking boat. I said, well, it is. That's a big fucking boat. He went, wow, that's a little unique. So he was all excited about that definition. So he wanted to make sure that he took me up to meet the captain of the ship and the crew, because they were Norwegians. So he went up there and he could speak the language, which was kind of impressive. And he spoke the language of these guys, and they all started laughing like crazy. I said, well, what you telling me? So I told him, you said it was a big fucking boat. I said, whoa, wow, really? And they got excited over that? Well, shit. I mean, God, they've been on the boat for how long? He said, not the point. They've never heard that kind of description of the boat. They've heard a lot of different descriptions from people all around the world, but you kind of put it in a different type of perspective. I said, well, I don't know what to tell you. I said, that's the first thing that came to my mind. So, that kind of set the table on the kind of person I was, and they knew what they were dealing with. So, we kind of took off, and we were going to go on a little cruise thing. We're going to go do it, and I got to pick out where the book's going to go. That's my job. I mean, I got to do this, okay? So now we take off. Next thing you know, I'm walking around. I'm trying to figure out. It took me about 20 minutes. Next thing you know, I picked out where the location should be, right near the casino. It's not real hard. I said, right over there. He said, really? I said, right over there. He said, great. He said, I think the boat just took off, though. I said, well, I want to go on the trip. This is a free trip, right? He said, yeah. You did what you had to do, but let's continue with the thing. We'll do everything else we got to do. So I was all excited about that because he kind of understood where I was coming from real quick. So, next thing you know, we're taking off. We're enjoying the trip, enjoying the voyage, so to speak. First night we're there. We got to get dressed up because it's kind of like a little event, go to dinner, all that kind of stuff. So, I go put my suit and tie on. I'm going to go show up. I had an unlimited alcohol budget over here. These guys are like, they're going to pump me in alcohol. I think this is great. At the time, I'm like 30 years old. I mean, I can drink like a fish. I'm drinking and having a lot of fun. I already picked out where the book's going to go. That took 20 minutes. So next thing you know, I'm drinking. I think I got a little inebriated on this scenario. The next thing you know, I'm kind of like roaming the boat, which is not a good thing to do when you're by yourself and you're drunk. You shouldn't like roam the boat type of thing because, that's where people fall off. But let me tell you what really happened over here. I didn't fall off. I went down below, okay? So what I started doing is I went deck. So I got down to about the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. I don't know. I was down so far. I was near the water. I could hear the fish on the outside kind of shit, Next thing you know, I'm sitting down having a little dice game with the crew members down there. The maintenance guys. They're all full of grease and shit. Like they were throwing the dice, so we're having a good game. We're kind of having fun. We're playing a little game of craps. All of a sudden, I guess what happened is the casino manager got a little concerned because, I was drunk. They didn't know what the hell happened to me. They couldn't find me. They didn't know where the fuck I was. Next thing you know, he sends out a search party. Okay, now they're searching a boat. Everybody's checking everywhere all the way around. We're coming deck after deck after deck. Well, all of a sudden, I'm playing, I'm throwing the dice. I'm winning like a bastard, so I'm throwing the dice. Next thing you know, the guy's yelling. I can hear in the background, he go, boom, boom. I said, what? And then I realized he's saying Bob. So I went, over here. So the guy comes roaming over. He says, whoa, shit, man. He gets on his little page. He goes, I got him. I got who? I said, who you got? He says, I got you. I said, shit, you mean I'm missing? He goes, yeah. He said, we were worried. We thought you fell overboard. I said, no, I'm having a big game. I'm clocking the shit out of these guys. And he says, yeah, but you got to come upstairs because they kind of like everybody wants to talk to you up there. So I had to apologize to my dice partners over here, because I was winning a lot for a couple of guys that were betting with me. And they're a little sad to see me go, but I left and kind of walked back up on the ship, got rid of that, Well, what was really funny is they took me back up. They gave me more alcohol, which is probably not what I needed. I got really, really drunk. Which, happens once in a while when you drink a lot of alcohol. Next thing you know, the next day I woke up. I guess they hit a storm because a lot of people got sick on the ship and all that kind of stuff. And and I got up the next door and I realized I was on the floor in my cabin, and the door was just slightly open, and I had both hands on the door like I was holding on for life with the door ajar. And the next thing you know, people are walking by and they're looking at a head that's on the floor. And I can remember a couple of them saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I said, "Huh?" And "Yeah, I'm fine. Well, where am I?" And the next thing you know, they're saying, "Yeah, I mean, they're worried about me." They opened the door, they helped me. I said, no, I'm okay. I said, "Oh, I drank a little bit too much." But I looked out into the area and nobody was walking around because everybody got seasick because the boat had hit a storm on the way out and it was rocking a little bit. Didn't bother me at all because the rocking was more like a baby rocking type of thing. I fell asleep. I got excited, I fell asleep. So that took care of that particular situation. So I got up, I went to see, the guy, the casino manager, I went to slot manager. And they kind of they says, "Oh man, it's great that you got, we found you. We were really worried about you last night," all that kind of shit. So the next thing they said to me, they says, "Hey, by the way, we're going to stop on a private island tomorrow. You want to go?" And I said, "Well, what is that?" He says, "Well, you get on the little dinghies and you go out and, they let you off and, you enjoy and you have fun." I said, "Well, what's there?" He says, "Well, it's an island. We own an island." He says, "What are you talking about?" He says, "It's got sunshine, you got palm trees, beach sand, it's great." He said, "You want to go?" And I says, "Well, what time?" He said, 6 in the morning. He said, "Yeah. You want me to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go look at some palm trees and a little water and sand?" He said, "Well, it's paradise." I said, "Well, maybe for you it's paradise, but for me it's a frickin' chore. I don't think I can get up that early, okay? I mean, Jesus Christ, you're asking me to get up at 6 o'clock to go on a frickin' island to look at palm trees? Well, I'm not doing that." So he kind of told me, he says, "Well, maybe this ain't meant for me. It's not meant for you, so, maybe you want to take a little break on this situation." So I got past that little private island shit because that isn't my cup of tea. All right, so we continued on this particular voyage. I already did my job. Everything was all done. So needless to say, now I had to take a second trip. The second trip was the implementation of the sports book. Now we made sure that we were going to pick a really good event, all right, to do our first event in the sports book on a cruise ship. So what did we decide to do? Well, let's talk Super Bowl 22. Washington, Denver, Super Bowl. That's what we're going to book as the first game on the cruise ship for the sports book. Super Bowl 22 between the Washington Redskins, at the time the Redskins, now I don't know, the Commanders, whatever the hell they are now, but the Redskins against the Denver Broncos. You remember John Elway and all that shit. We're talking way back in the 80s. This is going back when, when Elway was a young guy. So we're going to have this particular game. And, at the time, I knew that the only way you can operate a sports book, unless you had a guy who was a bookmaker, okay, you got to go parlay cards. You can't be setting lines with nobody with the expertise and expect somebody to run a sports book. The easiest thing to do is you set a parlay card. Parlay card means more than one bet. In our particular parlay card, okay, we had a minimum 3 teams. You had to pick 3 propositions in order to be eligible on the card. And the other thing is ties lose, okay? Now that puts the advantage to the house, okay, because there's no half points here. So in any particular wagering proposition on a parlay card, you as the bettor had a chance to lose even on a tie. Okay, now that's pretty hard because, parlay cards are tough play. Anytime you bet more than one particular thing in a sports book, the odds go against you every consecutive thing you keep doing. If you keep betting more and more, 2-team parlay, 3-team parlay, 4-team parlay, odds keep decreasing the more you keep playing. It's harder to win. Very simple math here, not hard, okay? So I got a 3-team minimum, a 10 for 10 type of thing. That's the most you can play is 10 particular props, ties lose type of thing. And I got this book ready to go, okay? got the employees of the Norwegian cruise line. I got them trained. It's an international type of thing. This is a diversity situation. We're talking employees from all different parts of the world, so I had to educate them. They spoke English, a little bit, whatever. I'm educating them and telling them what they can't do kind of shit, all that stuff. So understand now, when you get out on the water, okay, and you're going to basically try to take bets, and even in the casino, you can't do dog shit until you get to international waters. You got to get to international waters in order to take wagering. And usually it's about 10, 12 miles out. I don't know what kind of time. It depends on how fast the boat goes. Who the hell knows what's going on? But the point is there's a period of time. Okay, you can't take any bets. Okay, so we're going to say, but the line forms. All right, so here we are on a Saturday. We take off on a Saturday afternoon. The line's forming already. I already see success in this thing because there's a long line to the sportsbook. I got my people all trained. They know what they got to do. They know how to accept bets, all this kind of shit. It's parlay cards. And all of a sudden, I'm behind the thing. It's a Saturday afternoon. The game's on Sunday. The Washington game's on Sunday with the Denver Broncos and the Super Bowl. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there and I'm kind of just looking at the line because I can't believe how many people want to make a bet on this thing. Wow, this looks pretty good. So the next thing you know, okay, I got somebody in the back of the line. He's screaming. He's yelling. Causing a disturbance, some assholes in the back who thought, whatever. So I end up coming out of the little tiny book and I walk over to the line and I come up to the guy. I said, what's your problem? He looks at me, he said, what kind of crap is this? I said, what's wrong? He said, parlay card, 10 for 10, 200 for 1. Really? 200 for 1, 10 for 10? And I said, and your point? He said, well, my point is this. If you go to Vegas, he says, you're looking at 800 for 1. You're paying 200 for 1. What are you doing? He says, you're screwing everybody here. I said to him, I said, hey, this is the best game on the boat. You're 8,000 miles away from Vegas. What the fuck are you talking about? He said, well, you don't even have a chance. I said, 10 for 10. It's only 200 for 1. I said, let me tell you something. I said, I got real close to him. I said, you know the parlay cards are a sucker's bet, right? He looks at me with like a deer in the headlight type of thing. And I said, yeah, it is. But I'm going to tell you something. You see this? This is my cabin number right here. You see this right here? That's my cabin number. You want to bet 10 for 10? You want 800 for 1? Ties lose? Come to my cabin. I'll give you 800 for 1. All the money you want to play, okay? And he looked at me, tilted his head. And I said, yeah. You know why? Because I know you're not going to play it. You just want to cause a little bit of aggravation here for the rest of the line. But you know what? If you want to make the bet, come to my cabin, bet as much as you want. I'll give you 800 for 1 on the ties lose for 10 for 10. So that shut that puppy up. He didn't say another word after that. Because, he's just trying to cause a little trouble. He knows that 10 for 10 is a sucker's bet. And the thing is does anybody win at 10 for 10? Yeah, maybe. Sure, somebody gets hit with a frickin', from a meteor too, but the point is, it doesn't happen every day. So the thing is that that's what you have to understand. It basically is a tough wager to win on. Okay? So be that as it may, we got that out of the way. Next thing you know, I got done with him, and I come back, and I just noticed, I'm looking back at the sports book, and I had a bunch of women that were working in there, but they were all outside the book. I had a couple of guys in there, and there was only one guy, but I had a couple of guys, but the one guy was in there, and he was Asian, but I don't know what, I have no idea what nationality he was. I don't know, it could have been anything. But the point is, I went up to the women, I said, what's wrong? I said, what's the problem over here? They're having a little tough time telling me. I says, no, you got to tell me what's going on. You guys need to go in the book. We got a long line over here. We're a couple of minutes away from taking bets. What is the issue? So finally, the girl looked at me and she whispered. She said, the guy's got a little problem in there. So what's wrong with the guy? See, he's got a little gas. Really? I said, so that's the issue. A little bit of gas. So I walk in the office where the guy is, and I open the door. Needless to say, there was a little bit of aroma in there, and I looked at the guy. I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? He looked at me like he's shaking his head, like, I says, come on, buddy, what you doing? You're fucking scared of the women. They all ran out of the frickin' office. Can't you just not do this in here? He goes, what? I said, you farted in here. Jesus Christ. Can't you control your farts a little bit? And the bottom line is, if you got a fart, go outside and do it. Don't do it in here. It's a small fucking room. You're chasing everybody out. Jesus Christ. And you're not helping the customers. They don't like this shit either. So the guy looked at me, kind of put his hands up in the air. I says, look, I understand you got gas, but go outside and do it. Take a time out or something like that. But don't do it into things. So I had to kind of control that situation a little bit. It was a little bit different. And the next thing you know, we finally got done with that. Everybody made their bets. What was really amazing is the next day. The next day we go to the Super Bowl. So now we get to the Super Bowl, the game's about to take place, So we've never done TV racing, okay, on cruise ships. In fact, we didn't even know at the time whether it could be successful. So now we've got this Super Bowl signal coming in. And when we first started, a couple hours before, there's always some stuff taking place before the Super Bowl. So we try to get ourselves set on the signal and type of thing. And we were having problems. We were having different types of problems with getting the signal. It was kind of like going in and out type of thing. And I knew from my experience with the horse racing and the live TV broadcast that I did, I knew that there was probably some terrestrial interference and maybe we needed to do a little maneuver on the water. So I went up to my boy at the casino manager. I says, you know what you need to do? You got to take the ship. You got to kind of move it a little bit. He said, what do you mean? I said, you got to move it a little bit because I got a feeling that, the terrestrial interference, maybe if we get in a little area of the water, where there isn't, it's a better view of the satellite. I don't know, but you got to move the boat a little bit. So all of a sudden, he takes me back up to the guys that made, they kind of laughed at me on my description of the boat. He went up to the guy and he told him the story. And the guy came back. Next thing you know, he says, I don't know if we can kind of move the boat a little bit because over on that side, we're kind of into Cuban waters a little bit. I said, well, what does that mean? He says, well, we can't go into Cuban waters. I said, what do you mean you can't go into Cuban waters? He said, well, you can't go in there. He says, because otherwise you get in a lot of fucking trouble. I said, well, how do you know what a line is? He said, well, you're asking me. I said, I'm just telling you, there's no X. I don't see any line in the water. What are you going to go over a couple of feet? Is somebody going to get mad at you? What, did they drop a bomb on you? What are you doing? And he said, well, I'm just telling you, they kind of measure this shit with the satellite. I said, well, can you just go for a little while and, like a few hours, then you come back type of thing? Can we kind of maneuver here? I mean, we're trying to get the Super Bowl, for God's sake. It's a big game. And so needless to say, the guy says, well, I think we can do a couple of things and, kind of make it happen. And I said, well, okay, just, I'm not asking you to go to Havana. Jesus Christ, just get us in an area where the freaking signal comes in and then we'll be all right. So the next thing you know, the boat kind of shifted a little bit. Next thing, we got the signal. Everybody's all excited. The amazing thing about it is we took over 1,500 bets on tickets. And what was fascinating about this, and this has never happened before, we didn't have one winner. You know how hard that is? Do you know how hard it is to have 1,500 parlay tickets without a winner? I mean, I'm not even talking about a 3-team winner. So these guys that were upstairs in the Norwegian Cruise Line management team, they thought I was a fucking genius. And I'm looking at them like, I don't know what to tell you. You got a bad bunch of fucking bettors here. I didn't know why I didn't want to tell them that. But, I mean, really, the chances of that happening, pretty rare, okay? But they ended up winning on all 1,500 tickets. They thought I was like Moses parting the water of the Red Sea type of shit. I was a hero. I was a hero on the boat. It was a great success. It didn't last too long after that because they had problems with the signal at that time. I don't believe that that's even close today. I believe that all that shit's taken care of. But back in the day, back 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, I'm telling you, there was a problem with getting a TV signal, live TV signal on a cruise ship. But we ended up doing it. It was a successful situation, and we ended up doing really well on the Norwegian Cruise Line, particularly with the SS Norway. So I thought you would like this particular story. Once again, if you like the story, hit the like button. Just hit the like button. It'll help me out quite a bit. I love it. I just know that, the stories are, we got a lot of them coming down the line. I think you're going to really like them. You're going to enjoy them. And if you subscribe, you get them all at one time. I told you I'm working like a dog. I'm dealing with the homeless people. I told you that. I got the guy the other day. He didn't have the internet access. But I found another guy who's a homeless guy, okay? Now, this guy, I was, really impressed with this guy because he set up his little, like, I don't know, shanty town, whatever the hell you want to call it. He's a squatter. He's on a vacant lot. I was all excited about this guy. I went up there and I looked at him. He's behind a crib. He had a little tiny tree fort in the corner. So I'm thinking, oh God, if I can get this guy, next thing you know, he might be like the leader of the homeless. I mean, he can pass the message, and maybe I can kind of get him in a little bit. I can share the tips type of thing. I don't know, but I'm working this thing real hard. It's not easy, all right? But I am working it. I'm talking to these homeless people. I think I'm making some progress with them. I really do. Either that or they're just taking my money and buying more booze. I don't know, but it's fun. So once again, hit the like button, subscribe, come back. Happy holidays, and be safe.